Addie Bear and I are off to the meadows today. It is a gorgeous day. When we were outside, we needed coats. It's 62 now though. That's what, 15? Thereabouts. I got there to the barn around 20 after 8, I think. I wanted to go with some horses. First one I went with today was Gaslight Hall. Galloped him. He was good. I did gallop a mile in 2.5, which don't read too much into that. I want to see him, 1, how he jogs tomorrow, and 2, how he gallops next week and the week after. And the reason I want to keep an eye on that is when I can go a mile in 2.3, 2.5 on the run with him, and he feels very strong, like he's nowhere near the end of his, the end of his rope, so to speak, then we're ready to probably snap him in the race bike and go a mile in 2.6, 2.5, and see how he is after that. Again, assess, reassess, and then he'll be ready to go. A little bit of modified training for him, just because his knees have always bothered him, right? They've always been there. They always will be there. They'll settle down a bit as he gets through his 3-year-old season, but that will be up to us also. We have to manage him properly, help him, push him in the right way, and don't ask for too much too early or too much at one time. And that is what we're doing with the Gas Man. Now, second, I went with Memento Mori. He was very, very good. I went a mile in 2.5 and come like 27.4, 28 seconds with him. Very easy, no hobbles on. I can feel him a little bit shaky. Now, the thing with Maury is, and he's always done this, this is important too, because I'll have clients message me all the time and say, I see that the horses are interfering, but I just don't know if, what are your thoughts? Will they ever reach top speed if they're interfering? Well, Maury hit everywhere last year and is the fastest 2-year-old gelding of all time. He hit his jacks, hits them all the time, gets into a knee, and when he's going a little bit slower, might touch his shin up under his knee. Isn't what you call a super clean gaited horse, but he trots the turns very, very good. Straightaways is where you got to steady him and watch him. Can't just pitch the lines at him in the straightaways. You have to, especially without hobbles on, I should say, what you have to do is just kind of keep the bit in his mouth and let him power up into top gear. Don't ask him to get there too quick. He's doing it as quick as he can to begin with. He loves to go fast. He loves to compete. So you just have to let Maury do his work, but let him do it at his pace. If you ask him to do it too quick, you're not going to be happy with what happens. And I don't know if he's going to race with no hobbles on or not this year. The horse that I just trained at Northfield, yeah, I could see him racing with no hobbles on this year for sure. I was happy with what I saw from the horse today. The track was in great shape. Track crew did a great job this morning. Had a nice cushion on it. So a great mile from Maury. A good galloping mile from Gaslight Hall. He felt great after. Jogged off on the trot. We're back to the barn on the trot. It seemed good. Now the ultimate test will be what's he look like tomorrow. I suspect he'll be fine. Next, I watched Century Legion go. Now, I didn't really care if I went with him. He was going a mile in 2.7, 2.8. I trained him in 59 last weekend. The speed is there. There's nobody that can ever say, watch Century Legion race, say, just not fast enough. That's not the problem. Problem is he's got to mature, he's got to grow up, and he has these lingering ghosts that bother him a little bit, right? These little issues and ailments that he has to really push through. And I thought he trained great the other day. Eric went with him today, and he made a break in the last turn on him. He said, I can tell you exactly what is happening. He said, I just go to steady him when he gets out of gear. That's the problem. When we have the hobbles on the horses the way we do, and an old horseman, it is really, really hard to say to them, leave the horse's mouth alone and just let him sink into the hobbles and to let the hobbles do their work. That's hard to explain, right? And a lot of people don't really understand what you mean. Well, when the hobbles are doing their job, especially we're talking about the hobbles that are connected to the bike, and this is very important, and I'm going to tell you why. When you grab a hold of a horse, especially a horse that can get a little bully, and you sink into them, that harness shoves forward, and now those hobbles, every inch, centimeter, millimeter, that harness moves forward, and that bike moves forward, those hobbles move forward. So you might be here, and by the time you grab that horse to steady him a bit, now the hobbles are out that much further, right? Well, they're not there to help the same way. So you'll see a lot of horses make breaks in the corners because of that. And I have to explain I had a great conversation, I believe, with Tyler a couple of weeks ago with Jason. A perfect example is Freedom Hill. If you cinch her up going into a turn, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. You just sit into her, just leave her, just slack the lines, but just have a tiny little hole. Just have the bit in her mouth. and just kind of talk to her. Just kind of growl at her a bit. She'll sink herself in, lean in a little bit in the turn, and just zip right through it. But if you double her up and you kind of box her up a little bit and help her box herself up a little bit, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble with her. And she does it all the time, anytime. First time Jason trained her, said the same thing. She's just bumpy in the turns. I lost her. I said, that's why. You got to leave her alone. Let the hobbles do their work. And the same with Century Legion. It's hard because, especially older horsemen, your first instinct, just coddle those horses through the turn and just help them through the turn. 100%. But not when they're hung up like that. Just let them trot through the turn and let the hobbles do their job. So I was actually happy when I heard Eric explain it that way, because I knew exactly what had happened. Now, don't kid yourself. That doesn't mean it won't happen on Tuesday. I can tell you what, if it happens on Tuesday, it'll be the last Tuesday it ever happens with Century Legion in our barn. And that's not me being angry at the horse. That's just me saying, we've come to the end of our tether also. And I hope everybody understands now, and I'm sure you can see the very, very thin line between a horse that does it right and succeeds and a horse that does not and fails. There's so many different variations of fail in this business, but failing in our barn will mean he'll go to another barn and he may succeed. He may do fine. His horse could do great in Flamborough, London, all those small venues, Saratoga if you wanted, Harrington, anywhere. Horse can bust around a half really good, but needs to mature a little bit, right? Just needs to mature a little bit. So we'll see how Century Legion goes on Tuesday. I also went with Eric was going into the door with Chap when I left. I went to train Chappie, and he's got this bad habit now. He comes out of the turn, he touches himself, and he kind of lunges forward and makes a break. I said to Eric, there'll be no more of that. We're going to have to work and drill it into him. I just think we've let him away with it for a little while, and now he's kind of leaned into it. It's a vice. It's a problem. For all the things that bother Chap, this can't be the thing that undoes him. For the love of God. He's come so far, and for him to make these silly breaks, it is mechanics. But the question has to be asked, how do we fix that? That's an issue. It's not as big an issue as lameness or, having no talent, but nevertheless, it is an issue, and it's one that we're going to have to drill into him. So as I was leaving, I said to Eric, go back out, go with him until he does it right, and then we'll start tinkering with him again. But now he has to get going. Over the next 2 weeks, I want to see him dropped into racehorse speed and moving forward towards his qualifier. That's what I want to see from Grand Old Chap over the next 2-3 weeks. So we'll continue to work with him. If he reports back to me, if Eric reports back to me in half an hour and says, hey, still doing that thing coming out of the turn, okay, it's time to start tinkering with the shoes and get them right. And we will. Now, Captain Incredible. He was very, very good this morning. I'm torn. I talked to the vet. We did some vet work on him. He said his ankles bother him a little bit, so just be careful to maintain him. He said, you can reverse this and move him back forward, but you have to be careful to maintain him. And I said to him, well, should I send him over to Mohawk? And he said, no, with these ankles, it's not going to be the track. It's going to be the shoeing and the maintenance. So Kathy's doing a very good job working on Captain Incredible. And I can tell today because he trained very good. I trained him in 1.5 miles, like 2.8, last half 59, last quarter in 29 seconds. That's a hell of a mile. That is working this morning over that track. So the horse is getting closer to being ready to go. I was torn where to start him. I'm trying to put together his calendar. I took him out of, the North American Cup, the Meadowlands Pace, not because he's not talented enough, but we can stay in Pennsylvania or Kentucky. We don't have to venture all over the calendar. And where those races are at that time frame, we can give him a tiny little break, right? Which makes the most sense. Remember, this is exactly what we did with Time Is On My Side last year. Now, for different reasons, obviously, but exactly what we did and how we did it. So I want to maintain him in a way that we can push him forward. We can race him in Pennsylvania. We can race him a little bit in Kentucky. We can pick and choose our spots where we want to race this horse, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And I think the smartest play, the first place we should start, is that Memorial race that series at the Meadows next month. I'm torn. Do I really want to take 3 starts off his calendar racing in that class? I think we should, for a number of reasons. He has to prep and be ready to go. I won that race with Time Is On My Side in 51 last year, so it's not like it's a walkover. I did win it pretty easy, but he did have to go in 51 to do it. So I want to ease Captain Incredible into his schedule this year. We have the Adios and everything here. We just did remove him from 2 races, one in New Jersey and one in Ontario, because we want to be able to keep him close and maintain him here. And asking for too much could be problematic. This is a horse that could be a very good horse for us for a long time, much along the lines, the same lines as Time Is On My Side. Here's a horse that's made, what, $400,000 for us. Had an incredible year last year. That's the type of stuff I want to put together for Captain Incredible also, and hopefully long term for us. This could be a horse that really is a pillar at the stable over the next 2, 3, 4 years. Who knows? So with that, I'm on my way to the Meadows. Did have a qualifier today. Really hard to gauge how good that colt was or wasn't. Quebec Hanover's an open trotter and qualifies in 55. I don't know what kind of a day it was today. They said he was beat 26 lengths. You know, James knows who's way ahead. He's not going to try and run down Quebec Hanover or even get close to him. He went a mile in 2-1 with the trot and colt today. Now, I simply asked James a very easy question. Can he do in the non-winners or 2 right now at Mohawk? Do you think he's going to get there? If not, then we're going to have to bring him over to the Meadows and race him in a similar class to where we're going to start Never Lose Felix next week also. So now we're starting to see how the horses, what are they? Do they get to where we want them to be? Do they not? Where do they fit after that? All these horses that maybe aren't stake horses, right? Like Never Lose Felix. He said he was disappointed yesterday. He'd still pound the non-winners at 1 but 3 claimer. He beat the non-winners at 2 but 4 at Northfield Park. This horse is going to be a competitive horse. He's just likely not going to be a stake horse. Might be a stallion horse, but when I look back at our past stallion horses, he's not measured up to them. Like Austral Hanover would kill him. So, but that doesn't matter. That's year to year. I just want to see a good mile from him. But first, I want to see him look healthy. He just didn't look super healthy coming off the track yesterday. Tim knows that. He's on top of it. We'll get to the bottom of it and make sure that we get him on the right track. So, Manhattan Money qualifier was decent. You know, nothing to throw a party about. 2-1 off a half, 1-1 or a minute apiece. I wasn't disappointed, but I do want to see more from him. And I'm simply going to ask James and Harry, can he do it Mohawk? If he can't, then he shouldn't be there. Same as all the other horses we have there. And I know Harry doesn't want to whittle his barn down to 3 or 4 horses, but we're going to replace those horses. We're going to move horses back to Ontario also to race. Just not yet. It's going to take time. You know, it took time. We were really dry all throughout the winter in Ontario. Then we have Rosetta and Oh Hill No, Gymboree. Yesterday was incredible also. You know, all these horses are going to do good, and Neptune will come alive for Harry again also. Trosa, I didn't think that horse would be able to stay at Mohawk. Looks like he's fitting in nicely there, so that's perfect also. It's just the right fit, right? It's not always that easy. It's all about timing. We talk about that all the time. So, I'm off to the Meadows right now. I guess I didn't update. I thought that Texan Soprano raced great. Listen, we had a great day yesterday. We were a winner by a head with Miles for All on the right side of a coin flip, and he looked very good. Never Lose Felix just wasn't great yesterday, but still trotted 58 apiece. Maybe that's what he is right now, a 58 trotter. And then Gymboree, James was pretty bullish on her. He thought she was awesome. Now, you know, as I was talking to some of our partners, I was like, they're like, well, I thought I screwed up, didn't stake her heavily enough. And then they said, well, don't be too hard on yourself. It was the second quarter, 31 seconds, and I wouldn't say it was none of the horses that finished behind Gymboree are headed to the Hambo Oaks. Put it that way. It's a fair assessment. Kind of funny, too. And then Texan Soprano raced good last night. I thought he raced fine. So, off to the Meadows. We have 9 going postward today. It's going to be a big, big day at the barn. Addie Bear and I are heading over. She had the day off school. You're not skipping school, are you? The day off today?
Yeah.
Day off school today. And then wanted to come to the Meadows and hang out today, and I was happy to take her. So we have 9. Starting with Looks Like Money and Memory and Imagination at 25 after 2. And ending with Rosa and Alexandra at 10:30 this evening. It's been a great week again. Not quite as good as last week yet. It's going to be hard to top that. All our horses are racing against each other for the most part. But you know what? It's been a great week. I hope to keep it going. Chance of rain tomorrow. It could be a rain day. The babies have been training pretty hard. It could be a rain day as we assess and address a number of issues, splints and whatnot in the barn, quarter cracks. A day off wouldn't hurt anybody. So I don't want to say that to the caretakers, because what happens is at Northfield Park in Cleveland, the weather changes so quick. You get to the barn, there's no rain. Like, they were expecting a rain day and they didn't get it. So it ends up being a cranky day at the barn. So I'm not going to say anything just yet, but it might be an easy day at the barn tomorrow. We'll see. I hope it is an easy day for you. It is a dandy of a day. I hope it's as beautiful wherever you are at. It is a nice day and a nice drive over to the meadows. Take care, everybody.